I go hands-on on every single branch. I think in order to, to maximize the potential of your plants, you have to train. You have to train. This plant is so resilient, and it kind of feels like the harder you are on it, within reason, she likes it that way.
Although if you put in enough time into veg, that yield does exponentially increase and is worth that weight in veg and the time you put into training it.
I'm trying to grow to the best of my abilities so that I can live to the best of my abilities. And it's like, at no point should my gardening overtake what it takes to live. I wouldn't know half of what I know now about this plant if it wasn't for the fact that I have a show where I bring on people that are so much smarter than me.
Let's go ahead and get into tips and tricks around plant training with Pigeons420. You're here with Mark Batwell on Perfect Gardens TV. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't checked us out on Instagram or Facebook, or checked out our $2.99 membership, where there's over 115 growers ready and willing to assist you through your growing practices, I highly recommend to check those things out. Let's go ahead and get into the video, guys.
Make sure to hit the join button on the bottom of every video. Let's dive into one of the first questions I noticed your channel talks a lot about is training. What's your favorite method of training? Out of all the years you've been doing this, which one do you just enjoy doing and why?
It's a great question. And any answer that I could give would make it sound way too complicated. So here's where how I answer this is there isn't one technique that works any better than any other technique. You're going to find something that works for you and your environment and your routines. That's going to be the perfect technique to use. Now, when it comes to putting your hands on plants and training, I'm a huge fan of just like everything's got terms now, and I've forgotten everything, and like I don't know any of the terms anymore. But I'm big with the hands-on twisting. What's that one? Is that mainlining?
Where you're breaking the stem to soften it over slightly, breaking this.
Oh, super.
Is it? Yeah, super cropping. Okay,
That's
super cropping. Yep. Yeah, super cropping.
That's the one. That's the one. We do that one. We do that a lot. The
violin.
The violin. This is this is I go hands-on on every single branch. I think in order to to maximize the potential of your plants, you have to train. You have to train. They are beautiful plants when they start off. They're just, they're beautiful Christmas trees. You got your energy at the top. You've got the bottom, the lower lying buds that are going to sprout out from the bottom, and you've got a beautiful Christmas tree. But naturally, your energy is going to go up to the top. That's what's going to be your beautiful piece of work. So if you were to spread that out across a plane, whether it's a scrog, whether it's just a trellis, whether it's just through hands-on bending, which is primarily what I've kind of done throughout the years, is you have to get that plant ready to bear big fruits across all branches. And the best way to do that is to lollipop, a lot of stripping. I leave nothing low because I feel like anything low, you want a good barrier, a buffer between the soil and the bottom of your canopy to keep airflow and circulation and pests at a minimum. But aside from that, hands-on, twisting, keeping everything down, spreading out, grow low and grow hands-on is really the biggest.
You just got to get out there and try different methods. And like you said, you're going to find a method that works for you, your environment, your time with your family, whatever you have. You look at your current methods of scrogging. I look at like Green Goblin. His is more natural growing up, and that's exactly what works for him and his space. We don't all have big spaces. Myself, I grow in a 4x4. So yeah, I personally want to try to maximize what the genetics are going to provide me. If you're just a hobbyist and just want to, a little bit at the end, you might not need to do some of this, but trying it, you might have to break a few stems. I think we've all done it where we're getting there, twisting it, and oops. And, we hit up our friends. What type of tape do you use? What type, then you get that, well, I use Scotch tape. I use this, so you
electrical,
get out there and try it. Just do it.
It almost seems like good buds come out of those, the ones that actually snap more.
You're right. Those are the ones where it's like, this plant is so resilient, and it kind of feels like the harder you are on it, within reason, she likes it that way. And if you can get those stems to swell up, it only makes sense that the bigger the highway, the more traffic you can send through it, and that traffic is your nutrients, right? And if you can send more traffic through more nutrients through those stems, the buds can take more to bear. So that's kind of my rule of thumb.
And also, and I love to, once again, tell me your viewpoint around this, but this plant doesn't just like, if you veg for a week, it just doesn't, okay, well, you're going to get 1 more ounce, and then you veg for another week and you're going to get 2 ounces, and then you veg for another week, you might get 3. It's not really like that. It starts to go into this exponential curve of yield. And like you said, if you go through this process of training your plants, maximizing that square footage, and putting in obviously not too much time, because the harvest and the yield and the turn of the product is the cash flow of the business, or the blood of the business. Although if you put in enough time into veg, that yield does exponentially increase and is worth that weight in veg and the time you put into training it.
Yeah, 100%. You can definitely spend too much time vegging. That's something that it's like, it's a thin line. It's a thin line, because you could have this huge plant that you vegged for 3-4 months, but you just vegged it too long and it got too thin rather than thick, and it's definitely a thin line. But generally speaking, I veg for about 2 months, like 8 weeks to anywhere between 8 to 10, 12 weeks at most. Those are going to be the ones that are going to be like filling out a 4x4. Like right now I got a 4x4 running. I got 2 tents. The idea that I'll have 2 tents running, 3 plants in each. I should be able to fill those out rather quickly.
And how many plants do you normally grow?
There's no normal around here, bro.
There's no normal.
No, man. I've often described my method of growing as you ever
I remember seeing one where you had only 1 plant, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. You were talking about it for a little bit.
Yep. One.
I think so.
Yeah, I've done some weird things, man. I've done some things.
You have
There's
5
no
right now,
normal.
right?
I have 6. Yeah, 6 right now.
6.
But there's no normal, man. Like I said, I've often described my technique or my method of growing as something as similar as you've watched like bull riding, 8 seconds of just straight chaos. These men are trying to hang on to this son of a gun and just hold for everything they got, bro. That's what I'm doing, man. I learned very early when it comes to it. I don't want to know the science. I don't want to know the molecular makeup of this plant. I don't want to know how photosynthesis works more than sun and leaves and stuff. Like I don't need to, man. And it's not that is it ignorance? 100%. But I'm a huge fan of being a father. I'm a huge fan of being a husband. I'm a huge fan of my other hobbies. I'm a huge fan of life. I'm a volunteer. I'm a friend. I love life. And I love that cannabis allows me to get the most out of life. And in many ways, you can compare that to work. You don't always like work, but you work so you can live like hell, man. You can tear it up. That is my same grow method. I'm trying to grow to the best of my abilities so that I can live to best of my abilities. And it's like, at no point should my gardening overtake what it takes to live, And so I don't have much room space in this brain power. I've abused this through a lot of things over the years. So it's like, I got to be careful what I'm putting in there, what I want to retain. So yeah,
you gotta keep it fun, and while we're blessed to have all these new YouTube channels and normalization and legalization amongst many of our states and countries, like you also get mass amounts of trolls, people that like, oh, you have to do it this way. You have to do it this way. And it's like, man, if I just want to grow my plant out and that's my methods, like, there's a lot of critiquing like that. And I feel a lot of beginners get in that wormhole of all these different techniques, and you have to scrog, you have to do this to maximize your light. And it's like, well, yeah, there's stuff behind that. That holds true. You scrog it out, you get more light canopy depth potentially. But at the same time, just have fun, be passionate about it. And I love that. I'm a father of 3 children too. So there's a lot of time divided out amongst them. And I want gardening to be fun and rewarding, and have anyone that's around me that can benefit from it do so.
If it wasn't for people like you, that I would have never been invited to parties. Seriously. I'd be all studying and shit. And like, Mark, you got to get over, come over to party. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going. Let's do this.
Like, let's go, bro. Come on.
Do this.
Go. No, you're right. No, you touch on a good point. People do get sucked into this hole, man. It's like, this is it. Yeah. Yes, you can die. There is a whole science behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's there. Like, if you want to dive into it, this is why I have Chris. please, this episodes like shows like From the Stash and I love how I just throw out my own show all the time. What a narcissistic bastard. But the thing is that it's like it allows me to have a conversation with people that are way smarter than me. And it's like, I retain this. I have great conversation with these people. I wouldn't know half of what I know now about this plant if it wasn't for the fact that I have a show where I bring on people that are so much smarter than me. And, you know, I'm very thankful for that. Very thankful for that. But yes, new people do often get caught up in the idea that it has to be this way. You're not doing it right unless you're crunching numbers and you're watching this in, day out. Like it has to be something you slave your life away for. And it is so far, you can't be farther from the truth. It is literally a weed, man. You can really benefit from even just a seed just out into the backyard. You know what I mean? And it might do something. You can benefit from that. Like it'll still get you something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you can turn it into science. We can break it down to equations, but at the end of the day, it's a seed. It's a process that happens all over the world naturally, and
take it to whatever level you want to. You know, like if you're getting in organics, you don't have to have worm bins. You don't have to do certain things like, you know, look at certain synthetics. You know, if you just want to do A and B, you know, or they have other, you can add in the beneficial bacteria. Like whatever level you end up being comfortable with and makes you happy at the end of the day, like that's the most important.
Yeah, and I think we all have the benefit. Sorry, go ahead, Hayes. You're right. Everything does.
Oh, that's just all I was saying.
It's just you know, it's like you'll find that buffer. You know what I mean? You'll go, you'll test the water with both feet. You'll realize that you're drowning, and it's like, oh, whoops. So you'll dial it back. But that was a wonderful lesson. You know what I mean? That was a wonderful lesson. Or you'll go all in and realize, I want more. You know, so you'll dial it. You'll find it, and you'll find people around that'll have that similar outlook, and you'll be able to resonate with that and learn.
You might become the pheno hunter that Rob is. He wants his gas and he's going to search for a long time to get it. You know, maybe fast forward 30 years, he'll be on YouTube still looking for it. Who knows?
He'll be looking. That's right. But
that's his method. That's what he likes. That's what intrigues him. That's what keeps him going, you know?
That's right.
It'll be a headbanger by headbanger.
Right.
Crossword headbanger, yeah.
It's a back cross.
You described the methodology I always talk to people about is you can either go faster or you can improve the situation, right? It's like
if we can create just the right amount of healthy stress, the plants are going to reward us.